Thank you very much. I'd like, as is now traditional, to offer you the prerogative of asking the first question of each other. But before I do, let me just say, it's been quite an hour. We've really covered the map here, spatially, geospatially, intellectually, in pretty much any way possible. The presentations have covered an enormous amount of ground. So I'm hoping you all have lots and lots of questions for your colleagues on the panel here. Eva, would you like to go first?
Maybe just a question for you, Vasilis. A little bit, if you could elaborate a little bit about how you think about policy making and the future around the whole privacy and security area.
Okay, I think that people usually, when they talk about interoperability, I think that almost automatically they start thinking about the possible drawbacks, and privacy, obviously, and security is very important. It is clear that we consider these two areas extremely important, and these are the areas basically that we try to highlight, because I'm talking now more from the European Interoperability Framework revision point of view, let's say. So these are two areas that we highlight more and I would say on purpose in the revised version, because we want to emphasize there. I just want to remind you that the European Interoperability Framework is at a level that does not define the exact policies that need to be applied on the specific areas. It just gives the signal that this is something that we definitely need to arrange. It's not easy, it is complicated, it takes years. We all know how many years the data protection legislation took. But it has been highlighted to the European Interoperability Framework, which is what we can do at this stage with this document.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I would like to put one question for you. That is that we offer from the Netherlands a view from the domains, from sectors, some people say. And there's also a view from the different national authorities, or from Europe, or global even. How do you think that they will relate to each other? How are we going to meet each other with the building blocks, with the standards, with the policies?
Yes, okay. I think that this is also related to a question that I would like to pose to you. so perhaps it could be, yes, it could be a kind of a discussion, so it's not an issue. Passing the microphone, because I would answer to this with another question. Because you said in your presentation, and we are following the work, and actually we consider the work that the Netherlands is doing together with the Danish administration, perhaps some of the best practices in Europe for the base registries of what you're doing with the Celsius Catalogus and also with the basic data project. However, my question is, you say that you started by documenting the existing situation, which is obviously a very healthy first step, but then at some point, I guess that in your long-term vision, you have to decide whether you will leave forever people diverging and creating whatever kind of specifications they want to create for a new system that is being developed, let's say, today, or at some point you decide that you need to somehow put some order and apply and promote common standards, finally. So the answer for us also to your question is common standards. So we definitely need to agree on a common standard, and I think that that was a message that communicated also during the morning presentation from the CEF presentation, but also from the commissioners. So I don't think that there is no other way, the bolts and nuts of the pipelines, if we don't have them, and it should be European standards, of course, not only European standards, because we are talking about a globalized economy. It should be global, international standards, finally, that will do the work for us. If we don't manage to reach this level, and we don't manage to reach these agreements, we are afraid that we will, keep on discussing around the same topic for several years and bearing all the costs also of creating mappings, of creating alignment, of creating documentation of existing situation. But in the long run, you need to have a vision. And for us, the long-term vision is common standards.
I think we agree on that, but the problem is the long term. for how many years do you see it? For next year, for 3 years, or 5, or 25? I think nobody saw 50 years ago coming what is now possible with all the possibilities in techniques. So on the long term, yes, but how long do you want to talk about the long term? Or do you want to provide better services tomorrow and the day after? So if you see the path of the growing from the present until the future, then you are putting all the times projects to change the civil servants to improve their services to public. So how are you going to support them with standards which are maybe in 20 years available for them because they're doing everything on paper? So the growing path is for every service different. For every domain it's different because of policies. Policies in one domain where, for example, data is open, it's very easy to share. But with privacy aspects and information technology with threats in it, then it's more difficult to do the same thing. So I think it's the path in which you are growing that we're looking for. How are we going to grow cross-border services in Europe or even further? And then it's not nice enough to say just in 20 years it will be solved. What are we going to do tomorrow in the domains?
Yes, I think that obviously taking the time perspective from our personal, let's say, view of the time, talking about 2 or 3 years, perhaps it's a long period, but here we're talking about something that is really radical, and it's something that is new. We're talking about agreeing on some common standards to be used across different public administrations in 28 member states, or perhaps even more tomorrow. So to be honest, I really don't believe that this is a process that can be done in 1 or 2 years like this. So this is why I'm saying that for the time being, identifying good practices and what you are currently doing in the Netherlands, for us, as I say and I repeat it, and we really believe it, is really a best practice, documenting existing solutions so that you identify also how far away you are from this vision. So definitely, and also, I don't think that anyone here is so optimistic to believe that we can change everything in 2 or 3 years. The idea here is that we give a direction, that it goes towards a kind of an alignment, a kind of a common adoption of standards, a kind of, if we need 20 years, I don't know, perhaps it's 10 years, perhaps it's less. And of course, you need to have some intermediate targets and some intermediate goals. So the documentation of the current situation for us is a fundamental, very nice first step, and we promote this documentation, and this is also what JoinUp is supposed to do, to act as a kind of a, let's say, not exactly clearinghouse, but I would say a registry of existing solutions so that we really understand where we stand. We started this discussion 5 years back without even having an idea what are the current solutions that are available, what are even the conflicting standards that are available. We had no clue. It was only a feeling that we had. So we are building now really in this area on documenting where we currently stand. It will take time. I think that we have to be pragmatic on this.
I have a question for Paul. I also have a background in the geospatial world, and I was wondering what you think that the way that Inspire and ISA standards will grow to each other, or do we really think that spatial is special?
Well, I don't think that spatial is special, and I expect, given the number of presentations that mentioned Inspire today, that the ISA unit will be organizing the Inspire conference very soon. But jokes apart, I think that you are quite right, and that was also mentioned by Giacomo Matriano in his intervention earlier, that geospatial data is data. And you can, it's a bit more complex from a technical point of view, perhaps. But once you sort out the technical aspects, I think that in terms of legal, organizational, and also semantic aspects, there are many aspects that you can reuse in actually the vision that you outlined in your presentation. And this actually brings me to a question that I had for you, and that is that why do you think a legislation is needed for the ISA, for the ISA program as such, isn't voluntary and stakeholder-based participation not enough for achieving what we want to achieve?
Well, I think that our experience with implementing the INSPIRE directive has helped realizing that to overcome a lot of hurdles in implementing data interoperability solutions in the member state Belgium and the Flemish region, that an European legislation is very helpful. And it's no problem to convince a small group of early adepts and organizations who are already convinced about the advantages. But if we want to reach mass adoption and government abroad adoption of these standards, I think that a legal adoption of these specifications, of this framework, of IRA, could help speed up the process of implementation. And I think that's the key message of today, that we should speed up this process.
Sorry, this got misplaced over here. I apologize for bending over you. The dreaded box is out for the last time. I don't know how many of you know Muhammad Ali, but he once said the champions are made in the late rounds, the ones who have the stamina to keep going. The gentleman just here, you ready?
I have a question to Fabrizio. Just a curiosity, if it is an information that you can disclose. Regarding the pilots you are planning, did you forecast any budget for them? Of course, yes, but how much?
Thank you. There was someone else just here. I saw a hand. Yeah, just there. Here. Are you ready?
Almost. All right. Oh, there's the microphone. Okay, this is microphone. Okay. Okay, so we reached even the material flow interoperability here. So my question is about how, in this, I see two different ways to apply this IRA, but I did not quite understood. So my name is Robert Sosic, by the way. I'm sorry for not introducing me. I'm working as a consultant at DigiGrow Enterprise Architect. So my question would be, how this IRA, in which level is assumed to be used? Is it on solution level architecture? Is it some level of business architecture, information, logical, physical? And I've also been seeing here example, okay, it's being used as a building blocks, and I've seen another concept, if it's TOGAF, coming from the standard information baseline. So I would like just to have a view how the IRA is envisioned to be applied. And the second thing about the standards is it foreseen that IRA will be on an international standard or European standard complying to existing standards like OMG, UML? Sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else before I... Oh, well, we're getting a lot of them. We're a little bit short on time here because we're meant to be wrapping up right about now. I'm going to squeeze all of these in, and I'll have to ask our panelists to be short in a moment. Who was it just here? Here you are.
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm Elisa Cucato. I work for e-health sector in Italy, Veneto region. And what is not really clear for me, but it's similar to the first question, is if there are call for proposals specific to implement the activities of ISA, or if these actions are to be implemented by the other programs such as CEF or Horizon.
Well, I'm delighted that after a day of talking about this, there's still so many enthusiastic questions. Who just over here? Here you are. Are you ready? Let's try not to break the camera. Oh, you'll be okay.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Atina Drakas. I work for the OGC, the Open Geospatial Consortium, and I have more a comment than a question, and it's about the is spatial special, and I would agree, or I agree with Paul that not really, but if you have to deal with geoinformation or with geospatial data, there are some pitfalls. Just think about reference systems or projection systems. And before you get frustrated and throw away everything and start reinventing the wheel, just get out and talk to the experts. I think there's a huge community, an Inspire community in Europe, and maybe those who are involved with Inspire here can raise their hands or they know about that. And oh, okay, I know there are some more here because when I came in this morning, there are really a lot. Go and talk to the experts if you want to deal with or you need geodata and use what is there. Don't start reinventing the wheel. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And now back to my panelists. Anyone who'd like to take any of those, please feel free. And I'm going to have to throw my final question in now, too. If there are any messages you'd like to leave us with, please add them now. But keep them brief. We're at risk at the very last minute of messing up a nearly perfect day of timekeeping.
Okay, for the ERA question, we can discuss it in the break. As I will have also the support of my colleague who is responsible for ERA, and I'm sure that he can explain more. But in general, I would say that this is an architecture that can be used as, again, a meta framework for creating your own application. It's an interoperability architecture. It's not exactly an operational system architecture. More details, I think, in the break. It's not at the core of the discussion that we have. I don't know if I have to answer to any other question. Yeah. Okay, so basically my message, which is related also to the discussion that we had, is that we need to keep on building on this vision for creating and using common standards, especially in the data area. This is why, also excuse me for the promotion, we have the semi-conference dedicated to data standards on the 12th of May in Italy, as Giorgia Lodi already announced in the morning. And we really believe that this is a long process, but already we have very good results in some areas. We have policies with very strong standards. I think that the Inspire Directive is a very good example that we can learn from the experience and also extend to other domains. And also you have the work on the core vocabularies, on the DCAT application profile. We heard so many times that people are really using this, and this is already something that is happening. So, that was from my side.
Shall I say something what I like? I think it will be very nice if we start thinking about the needs which are coming from the current cross-border services, the problems they face, the issues they face, and we should think about the long-term thinking together with these needs. And this is, I think, what I meant with the community. We should talk about these things, about the thinking in the future, the top-down thinking, and the bottom-up needs. And in this way, we can grow further and further. And standards will be in place, and nice, good services for citizens will be in place.
Yeah, the call for proposals was mentioned in the question. What I would like to propose is that those people that are interested in geospatial activities in the context of the ISA program get in touch and get involved in the stakeholder engagement processes that will be put in place, because there we can also share resources and opportunities that we collectively may identify. So I hope that the stakeholder engagement will be continuing also after this conference. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
No?
I'd like to answer the question on the... So I think this is the pilot is co-founded by ISA, so I think I can follow up with you on the cost, because it is a contract signed directly by ISA. So we have some internal cost because it's a multi-annual project, but the specific cost of the pilot is covered by the ISA framework contract.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And that all that's left for me, well, actually I have a couple of things left to do, but the first one is to thank our panelists. Thank you so much.